Hello, my name is Crystal Petry, and you are watching the Crystal Petry Podcast. We have been following President Trump's first 100 days since he was sworn into office back on January 21, 2025. And here to help us break down the last week or so of President Trump's presidency is the word I'm looking for. We have Vanessa Broussard. Hi, Vanessa. How are you?
Hi, Crystal. So good to see you. Hadn't seen you in a long time, so I'm so happy to be connected with you again. And for people who don't know, we go way back. And so to be here with you again is an honor.
Thank you so much. And I'm not gonna age either one of us, but we do go way back, and we used to work in NBC television together. So here we are again, doing what we love.
Absolutely. I do love what I do. And as you know, people say it's not really a job when you love what you do. So that's how I see it most days. Like, do I really get paid for this? Because I love my job. But it's like anyone who really loves their career.
Yes.
It's in your blood. And, you know, I know journalism's in your blood, and it's in mine too. So again, happy to be here with you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on to the podcast and just, talk with myself and talk with my audience about some of the things that President Trump has signed into order and even some of the things that he's been thinking. But more importantly, we're going to get to this. You were there when President Trump was shot on his campaign. So we are definitely going to talk about that. We have some pictures that we are going to show. So very interested to hear your take on that. But let's go ahead and get to it. A couple of days ago, President Trump signed an executive order, which some say is divisive, some say is not, whatever side you want to fall on that, about the content in museums and national parks. What are your thoughts about that? What he's wanting to do is remove some things that he feel is divisive in the museums and parks. So what are your thoughts on that?
First, I want to say that anything that you see on Capitol Hill, whether it's legislation being brought to the table by Democrats or legislation being brought to the table by Republicans, is always going to be divisive because that's why we have different sides, right? So, and then you look at President Trump. President Trump has a lot going on, and he has since he came down the golden escalators and announced his run in 2016. They have been hammering him, and when I say they, a lot of people have been hammering him from day one. So pretty much I feel, Crystal, that anything President Trump does, there's a magnifying glass on that. And I really, until you brought it to my attention, hadn't looked too much. He signs so many executive orders every single day, including today. He has 2 rounds of executive orders to sign. So it's hard to keep up with every single one by detail. This one, I want to say, if you look at the wording on the executive order, it says, celebrating American greatness. President Trump is committed to honoring America's extraordinary and building a sense of national pride. That pretty much sums up, I believe, and you can tell me your thoughts as well. That's why we're here and have a great conversation about this. Extraordinary heritage and building a sense of national pride. I feel like we need to expand on our heritage, no matter what your heritage is. We all come from different backgrounds, which makes America great. And so if we were all alike and all looked alike and all thought alike, what a boring world we live in. So that's what makes our country so beautiful, is that we have so many different heritages. And so he wants to expand on that, is what it says in this executive order, and build a sense of national pride, because there's been a lack of that. You see people stomping on the American flag or burning the American flag. And so we want to, teach our kids at a young age, this is the Pledge of Allegiance. This is the national anthem. This is what our founding fathers wanted for this country. Now, Crystal, you have to understand, we're a brand new country. We're only 250 years old, right? So there's a lot, think of your personal life. Again, like you said a while ago, I'm not going to age us, but we've all made mistakes, and we've all done things that we'd say, oh, I'd love to do that again. But when you make those mistakes, it turns you into who you are today, right?
Mhm.
Or if you went down a different path, that didn't work. I know not to go there again in life, but it sculpted you to who you are today. And that's how I see our country. There's a lot of pros and cons to America in the last 250 years, but it has sculpted us into who we are today so we can move forward in a different way. So with that said, I think that he doesn't want to erase our history.
Mhm.
And looking at another part of that article, it says the prior administration pushed a divisive ideology that reconstructed America's promotion of liberty as fundamentally flawed, infecting uh, revered institutions like the Smithsonian and national parks with false narratives. So, regardless of what that is, look, I've been to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., there's 21 museums. And Crystal, I don't know if you've
Yes,
ever been,
I
but
have.
yes, you could stay in one museum for 2 days. There's so
True.
much to see. And so I don't know exactly what details he's talking about, or
Mhm.
what Smithsonian specifically he's talking about, or which national park specifically he's talking about. But I do know that he does not want, according to this executive order, false narratives in these national museums. He says
Do
also it's baseless ideology aimed at diminishing American achievement. President Trump is fighting back by reestablishing truth in the historical narrative and restoring federal sites dedicated to American heritage.
Do you think anything, and as we both stated, the Smithsonian city, you can almost call it a little city. It has so much amazing information and artifacts within the different museums. Do you think that any of the things within those museums would be considered baseless?
I don't know. I mean, it's been a while since I've been in the museum, and I can tell you that they're family oriented. Like I would when I went in the past, this was probably, gosh, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And so I brought my little nephew with me. I want them to see America's history, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. This is how far we've come. This is what we don't want. This is what we do want. But I don't think that we need anything fake. Um, Going back to another part of that, he says he wants to ensure that the future Smithsonian appropriations prohibit funding for exhibits or programs that degrade shared American values, divide Americans by race, or promote ideologies inconsistent with federal law, and to celebrate women's achievements in the American Women's History Museum and do not recognize men as women. So I don't know specifically from what I've viewed anything, because I've seen the ruby slippers, I've seen the dinosaurs, I've seen
Yes.
all that, and all that's wonderful. So again, it's been 6 years since I've been into a Smithsonian museum, but what he's stating here, the American Women's History Museum was recognizing men as women. That's what he wants to change, is those type of things.
I did not even know. Again, it's been some years since I've been there. I did not know that they were doing that. So you're saying the
I didn't
women.
either until I read the executive order. And many people probably don't know that. And so I'm actually glad you wanted to talk about that today, because like I said in the beginning, there's so many executive orders. I've looked at immigration and election integrity and all these executive orders that have taken place. But this one I knew a little bit about until I read it all. And that's why we encourage, Crystal, everyone to do their own homework, because you can look at different news websites or social media sites, and people have their opinions, but have you done your homework? And I'll be first to say, I didn't know much about this executive order until you told me you wanted to discuss it today. And just like you said, I didn't know that the Women's History Museum is recognizing men as women.
And we both know, and my audience knows as well, that that is something that President Trump campaigned against, and something that he has absolutely followed through since he was sworn in January of 2025. Let's move on, Vanessa, to Liberation Day, is what President Trump is
Mhm.
calling it, where he is going to put in the reciprocal tariffs. Liberation Day is supposed to be April the 2nd, as of we are recording this podcast is, the end of March, but April 2nd is supposed to be Liberation Day, is what President Trump is calling it. What do you think the economic implications, of Liberation Day will be for America? And this is when the tariffs are supposed to kick in, is what President Trump is talking about.
Correct. So basically, he's saying that people have used America for far too long, and it's not going to happen under his watch. So what you're seeing with these tariffs that he's imposed are more companies wanting to move back home to America now and create their products here. We've seen it in the auto industry. So many different auto dealers are wanting to, and automakers, I should say, are wanting to move back home to America. They have announced that to avoid those tariffs. So what you're going to find is more made in the USA products. And that's the end goal here, is made in the USA. Look, we're the land of the free. Okay. And so there's so many opportunities here, land of opportunity, land of the free. You have the freedom to come here and do anything you want to do legally, right? For all the people who are legal Americans.
Yes.
And so you see these companies wanting to move back to America. So what he's wanting to do is to get more consumers to buy made in the USA. And if these people are imposing tariffs on us, why aren't we imposing tariffs on them? Because they're ripping us off, but yet it's not equal. And so he just wants to make it equal across the board, and then also get more made in the USA products here in America, and also have more consumers buying American made products, which would be cheaper.
Do you think this is going to affect the American consumer? Is it going to be more expensive for us to go and buy a car or go and purchase a house or anything else that just the average American consumer needs to have to operate in their everyday life?
Well, when it comes to the tariffs, it may be, if you talk about building a house, maybe, but we have our own lumber and products here. When it comes to purchasing an existing home, that's already been a problem I'm a realtor as well. That's already been a problem for buyers because of the interest rates that have been so high under the Biden administration since COVID. You're looking at over 6% interest rates, and people just can't afford that. So they're not buying. Now, when it comes to automakers buying a car, yes, it could be more expensive if you buy a foreign car. But if you buy a car that's made in the USA, then you shouldn't see a change there. Most people, though, Crystal, I think, are thinking about grocery prices and gas prices and things like that. Gas prices have come down. Grocery prices have started to steadily decline, slowly but surely, but it's happening. We like to see it going down and not up. There was a big fuss when President Trump first came into office about egg prices. Egg prices are coming down as well. So, but when it comes to tariffs, made in the USA is key.
Okay. So what countries do you think, Vanessa, then we'll move on to our next topic. What countries do you think will benefit more from tariffs, and what countries do you think will, I'll say, suffer from the tariffs?
Well, nobody likes tariffs. President Trump says it's his favorite word in the dictionary. He said that before, but I don't think other countries like tariffs when it comes to them being on the receiving end of it. I'm kind of looking right here. I believe he said something today. So this is what I wanted to read. He said, there will never have been a transformation of a country like the transformation that is happening for all to see in the United States of America. Companies are pouring into our country at levels never seen before, with jobs and money to follow. It's a beautiful thing to watch. So who's going to be on the receiving end as a winner? We are, with jobs and money. Jobs comes from the companies who are moving back to America. They've already announced that they're doing so. They'll create jobs when they do it. Money, because, with jobs and business comes money. So he posted that today. What countries are going to, falter from this? You're going to have China. You're going to have Venezuela. You're going to have Canada. The list goes on. Iran. The list goes on. All of these people have been stealing from us for years and decades. And President Trump finally says, enough is enough. You're putting all these tariffs and implementation. What is the word I'm looking for? You're implementing these rules for us, but yet you're stealing from us. So they don't like it when the rules are reversed. So that's all he's doing here. April 2nd should be very interesting. Liberation Day. I'm interested to see what the markets are going to do that day, because it is something that is a huge day, and a lot's going to go on at once. So we may see some fluctuations in the market on April 2nd, but I think it'll all smooth out after a couple of days. Okay. I'm not an economist. I'm just a journalist, but that's just my, my take on it.
Let's talk about President Trump has been talking about, and I don't know if he's been joking about this or if he's halfway serious about this, Vanessa, running for a third term of presidency, which according to the Constitution cannot be done for a U.S. president. So give me your thoughts on this, President Trump running for a third time.
You know, I don't see it happening.
Okay.
Here's why. Because because with Congress, judges, there would be so many lawsuits and this and that, and all, you name it, it's going to rain down on us.
Yes.
So with that said, could there be a way to finagle in? Is there a loophole in the Constitution? Probably. What could that be? I've seen the same news you've seen, Crystal, about maybe J.D. Vance will run for president in 2028. Donald Trump will be his vice president. They win. J.D. Vance steps down. Donald Trump's your president again. Oh. I've seen rumors like that before. Yes. So he jokes with it. You know, President Trump likes to keep people on their toes. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, but I just know, for this second term, we're just getting started, and we still have 4 years to go. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think people are already, especially in the MAGA world, they're already hoping for the best. I know the left is probably thinking, oh, no way, and already coming up with ways to stop that. But yes, the U.S. Constitution says 2 terms, but he didn't serve consecutive terms. That could be another loophole. Is it only for consecutive terms? Is it, is there a different way where he could be the Speaker of the House? Crystal, what if he was the Speaker of the House and J.D. Vance runs with, you name it, anybody? Yes. And they both step down and he's the Speaker of the House, the third person in line, and then he becomes president that way. So there's different ways around it, but can it happen? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know either. And I don't think that another president has even broached the subject, but it's not uncommon for President Trump to say something like this because, like,
absolutely,
you said, he likes to keep people.
He likes to aggravate people too. That's what he does. He likes to aggravate people.
You never know what's coming out of this man's mouth, and we are all here for it, Vanessa. Yes. We are all here for it. I will say this: so President Trump, of course, won the popular vote overwhelmingly for this last term. If by some kind of happenstance he would run for a third term as president, looking at the popular vote numbers, do you think it would be possible for him to win again?
Yes.
You didn't even think on that, Vanessa.
Yes. Here's why. People were mad this last election.
Yes.
When I say people, I say the MAGA movement. The MAGA movement is something the country has never seen before. Crystal, you had Democrats, you had Republicans. Both parties have changed over the years. The Democrat Party isn't the party my grandfather was a part of or my father was a part of, right? It's changed over the years. Republican Party as well. That's why you have, the MAGA movement. They sometimes disagree with the Republicans, and you have Republicans squabbling with each other on Capitol Hill because there's this whole change that the country has never seen before. I think because I've been on the campaign trail and I've never seen anything, because my job was to cover and follow President Trump for 3 years. The people would come out by the tens of thousands to get in. When he was at Madison Square Garden in New York in October of 2024, tens of thousands of people were outside. I asked some of the security guards who I've become friends with because they, are President Trump's security detail on the campaign, I asked them, what's it looking like outside? One texted back and told me at least 20,000. Couldn't get in.
Wow.
The people, there's something about Trump that the people, the MAGA movement just loves. He's created this movement that the country's never seen before. And I don't know if we'll ever see it before. You know, you have two big races going on this week, one in Wisconsin and also in Florida. And we're just hoping for great turnout, voter turnout, because if President Trump's name is not on the ballot, what will the turnout be like? We just don't know. But he has a following, Crystal.
He does. He absolutely does. He does have a following. Okay, so let's get to our final topic, Vanessa, before I let you go. And again, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast and have this discussion with me. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
During the presidential campaign, before President Trump was elected, he was shot. Thankfully, the bullet grazed his ear. He was not injured too badly, but you were there in Butler, Pennsylvania, when all of this happened. We have some pictures. I'll put those up on the screen as well. What were your thoughts when this happened?
So at the time, immigration, as it is still today, there were exit polls after Super Tuesday that showed, that was the crowd actually that you're looking at right now. That was the crowd you could, as far as the eye can see. And that's what I just touched on a little bit ago, is that the people come out in the masses for President Trump. Okay. And this is just a partial view. This is not me panning my camera around to see the rest of the crowd. This is just a square view. If I did a panoramic, you would really have seen, you know, the magnitude of the crowd. But, So there was a poll done after Super Tuesday last year. It was an exit poll. People, over 50% of people said illegal immigration was the top concern. And then economy had like 30 something, and then it trickled down after that. No matter where you live in the United States, illegal immigration is an issue. Mm-hmm. So President Trump had stood on stage and he said, I'm going to show a graph with the latest illegal immigration numbers. And so I had taken my pen and notepad. I was on Media Row, and we have little risers that we stand on, all the media. So all your networks, independent journalism, all of your networks and newspapers, everybody's on Media Row. And it's always about 50 yards from President Trump's stage. And we're eye to eye with the president. So if you're looking at the people right now on the ground, and you see I'm higher up with that photo, I'm eye to eye with the president 50 yards away.
Okay.
And so I sat down to write down the latest immigration numbers, because I just feel like no matter what website you look at, what news article, you're always going to get different numbers. So I wanted to hear it from President Trump. What are our latest illegal immigration numbers? I had just sat down to write it down, and I hear pop, 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 pop. And I was looking at the big screen that he had up, and I looked at him. He dropped. At the same time he dropped, Secret Service jumped over him. People went down. So that all happened at one time. People went down. President Trump drops. Secret Service jumps on top of him. Okay. I run off the media riser and around. So the media risers, think at like a bleachers at a high school football game. You could go under them. That's what I should have done to take cover, but I did not. I ran to the side of the bleachers to where I could see President Trump. I couldn't see him, but I could see Secret Service laying on top of him. Yes. What probably happened in 30 seconds, Crystal, felt like 10 minutes. It happened so fast, yet so slow. In my mind at the time, I thought, okay, there's tons of security here. Mm-hmm. We have snipers, we have, Secret Service, we have local police, we have, Trump would hire his own private security detail. There's so much security. In my mind, I'm thinking they're going to get them or him or her. I didn't know if we were under attack. I didn't know if there was one shooter, two shooters, 10. I didn't know. And so I just knew we were under attack. Then the second round happens. Pop, 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 pop. And so I was thinking, oh, God, no, they just shot and killed President Trump. They just shot and killed President Trump right before my eyes.
So scary.
I know. Then at that moment, I knew that they weren't after us. Whoever was attacking was just after him. Mm-hmm. So even though we were all ducked down and I was on my stomach, I'm watching him because I knew they're not coming after me. They want him. He's the target. And it was right after that second pop, 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 that Secret Service lifted him up.
Mm-hmm.
And from the naked eye, I couldn't tell if he was dead or alive. Now, President Trump is a big man. Like,
Okay.
when I'm speaking to him, I have to look up to him. He's tall, he's big, he's a big man. And so when they were lifting him up, I thought, oh God, he's dead or alive. I didn't know. And it wasn't until that fist bump that the crowd went crazy.
Yes.
Everybody just went wild. Like,
Yes.
praise Jesus. Because look, at the end of the day, I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, anywhere in between or outside those lines, you have to respect the job. Respect
Correct.
President Biden, respect Obama, respect Clinton, respect Bush, respect Trump. You've got to respect the office of the president, right? And no matter if you agree with them or disagree with them, violence is never the answer, right? And
yes.
Yeah. And so praise God, he was okay. I would be praising God if it happened to anybody and that they're okay. It should never happen to anybody. Again, going back to what I said in the very beginning of this broadcast, if we were all alike, how boring would we be? It's good that we have differences. And, like me and you coming to the table and talking about things, that's what we should do. Let's talk about it. How can we improve? How can we move forward? Violence, no matter what, is never the answer. But and then they carried him off and I continued on with my broadcast. And then after that, they cleared, the Secret Service cleared the crowd. Mm-hmm. And then they cleared the crowd and then they let the media stay. Well, probably 5 minutes after that, they cleared us because they knew immediately who the shooter was, found his vehicle, and there was bomb-making materials and explosives in his car. So we had to run off. Yes. And so from that point, we went to the hospital where President Trump was. He had already been released. So he was in and out fairly quickly. But it was, I don't even know how to explain it. Something that, for being in news for almost 3 decades, I've covered mass shootings, unfortunately, but to witness one and to also at the time see a former president and presidential candidate be shot right in front of my eyes was just, I walked around like a zombie for a week.
Right. Oh my goodness. And you sent me another picture, Vanessa, and I'm assuming this is when Secret Service moved everyone away because you're looks like on the other side of a fence.
If you can show it to me, I'll explain what that one. Okay, so then I returned for Butler. We call it Butler 2. That's when President Trump came back to finish his rally, is what he likes to call it. Butler, Pennsylvania is a small town, country town, beautiful town. The rally was held at a farm. They put up everything exactly like it was on that day, on the second Butler. So in October, President Trump returned to Butler, and they set up everything. The flag you see there was the same flag, exactly how it was hanging on July 13th when President Trump was shot. And so one of my photographers, I just walked up to the fence when we parked. This was the day before the second rally, and it was just somber, because you also have to remember that someone lost their life that day. Several other people were shot, and it was just it's a somber photo for me. Like I returned to the last time I was there was chaos. When I left, there was chaos. And when I came back, it was peaceful and quiet again.
Well, I know I speak for myself and so many other people that love you, Vanessa, that you were okay.
Well,
because, you were just right there by President Trump, just doing your job, taking notes as we're supposed to do in the media. And, that happened. So we are grateful that you were okay.
Thank you.
That you made so many others. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's tens of thousands of people. Bullets were flying over our heads. And so it could have happened to anybody. It could have struck anyone. I pray all the time for the families who are victims of that day. And just another blessing, another day that, you're just lucky to be alive after you experience something like that. So thank you.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for sharing that.
If you ever need me again, I'm here.
Scary moment. Yes, I was going to say that. We would love to have you back on. Like I said, we're covering President Trump through the first 100 days of his presidency. So I would absolutely love to have you back on, especially because I didn't even know that, your job, one of your many jobs was to cover him for that 3 years. So yeah, you have a lot of insight and information that we would love to hear.
You can contact me anytime. If your viewers have any questions for me, you can reach out to me on X and Truth Social and Instagram. I'm there. And then also on Lindell TV as well. But Crystal, anytime you need anything, just let me know. It's good being with you again.
Oh, I know, just like old times.
It was.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And to my audience, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Make sure you subscribe to my podcast because we are covering President Trump's first 100 days, and you don't want to miss out on that. And you can always get your information wherever you listen to your podcast.